and there's, I think, just some flaws in the kit. This is not a promise of imminent work, but Quinn is definitely a champion that we know is not in the best spot, and I'm sorry to all the Quinn mains out there that your champion feels pretty bad. Hopefully these buffs feel decent. Hopefully your champion is at least balanced, even if there's probably still some wonkiness on the kit. I would love if we had time to get to Quinn at some point. I think she's a really cool champion, but as it is, this champion is deserving of buffs, and so here have some bonus stack speed to feel better about having a build other than just pure lethality burst, hopefully. Rakan is getting a buff. I believe personally that this is an underbuff, and there's not enough here for Rakan, but there are some very high-skilled support players who think this is a huge deal, so it's a light buff. It's also worth noting that Rakan already has a pretty moderate amount of pro presence, around 35%, which is actually very ideal. I would love if every pro champion had 35% presence. That's actually a really healthy sort of spread of games picked and banned. Regardless, though, this is 2 seconds off rank 1 W cooldown, flattening out to no change by rank 5, so it only matters levels 1 through 8, or 2 through 8, depending on what you start with. There are E starts, there are Q starts. Regardless, the consideration for, like, this is a big deal was that Rakan's primary constraint in laning phase is how often his W is up. And so if it's up about 15% more often, that's a really big deal and can do a lot for him. So maybe that's true. This also might, again, be a very, very small deal because it only matters level, 1.5 through 8. But regardless, this is a Rakan buff here. Again, has pro presence. He's about 1% underpowered by my measurement. So not a horrible champion, but here's a buff. Samira is in a weird space where if you look only at moderately experienced players, Samira is not weak. She is relatively difficult. She has a Callista Draven-like mastery curve where most AD carries are pretty easy to play. Kog'Maw's a straight line, basically. Ashe is a straight line, basically. Samira, if you're a skilled Samira player, is honestly a very normal level of powerful. Most Samira players, though, are very, very bad at Samira, and Samira is exceptionally punishing for players who are really bad at Samira. She is one of the lowest win rate, low mastery AD carries in the game, despite being very normal for high mastery AD carries. This results in Samira having a fairly low win rate. I can be convinced that Samira, just because her high mastery win rate is good, shouldn't be buffed. Ultimately, champion feels a little weak in sort of most player estimations. Again, I can't give you all the exact reasons why this would be the case, and pure dispassionate numbers say she's actually okay, but champion kind of feels bad. And so we're delivering her a pretty small buff. This is explicitly meant to be something that is not part of the normal, get your ult off in under a second and then go try to one-shot the enemy team. That is where a lot of her power budget is. It makes her kind of one-note. It makes her quite feast or famine. It tends to be that feast or famine champions tend to not feel very good, even if they are numerically balanced among skilled players. That's a reason, for example. And so it's trying to give her a very small bit of fallback pattern, where, yeah, some of this is just that she can be a good lane bully, but there are lane bullies out there, and they feel fine. Draven's win rate is technically below 50 in most ELO brackets. No one thinks Draven's actually weak. Well, some people do. They're wrong. And so, yeah, this has some lane bully power because the E attack speed duration is going up from 3 nerfs in 0.19 because players just weren't putting this item, even though everything I could see said this item is very, very, very good. It's very strong. It's relatively unsatisfying. It is very hard to measure what your shield is doing. Of course, not a lot of champions need that much mana, but the item is kind of shattered. And so it's no surprise that anyone who's like, oh, I should build Fimbulwinter is doing really, really well.